They actually, because when I'm hiring an employee, I have an expectation of what I want from this employee. Automatically, I know exactly what I want. But are they understanding what I want? Are you setting the proper expectations from the interview? Set the expectation right from the interview, and your chance of success with that person is going to be so high. But investing doesn't just stop with the interview. I invest in my employees 52 weeks a year. I'm constantly sitting them down, communicating with them, diving deep into what is. I don't get into their personal life. Some people go too deep into people's personal lives, but I want to walk in every day. I shake every hand when I leave the building at the end of the night. I don't want to shake everybody's hand, but I want to feel the temperature of that employee. When they're leaving work, I shake their hand when they come in because I want to know, did they flip the switch at the back door?
Have you ever wondered how successful architecture, engineering, and construction companies scale their business?
Or have you ever wanted guidance on how to get more growth, wealth, and freedom from your AEC company?
Well, then you're in luck. Hi, I'm Will Forat.
And I'm Justin Nagel, and we're your podcast hosts.
We interview successful AEC business leaders to learn how they use people, process, and technology to scale their businesses.
So sit back and get ready to learn from the industry's best. This is
Building Scale.
Hey listeners, it's Will here. Our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy. If you've ever listened to our show, then you know that the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology. So if you suspect technology is your weak link, then book a call with us to see where we can help maximize your company's IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
Today's guest is Tony Disilvestro, entrepreneur, business consultant, and keynote speaker, passionate about helping businesses achieve exponential growth. He enjoys sharing his life from his successes and failures. Starting his career was a humble beginning, and he progressed through the competitive industries. He has experience in residential and commercial construction, SaaS, manufacturing, restaurant sector, and business consulting, which sounds like a lot of stuff, which is probably why he's founded over 31, that's 3-1, businesses thus far and employs about 450 people. That's a whole crapload ton is how I like to put that. Tony's been featured on Forbes podcast and Forbes authors for his book, Business Scaling Experience. This book is going to be transformed into a national conference. If it hasn't already, I had a date of last year, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that right in the beginning. And then some awards that he's gotten, because it's a bunch of them, but I got a couple here. He was named Entrepreneur of the Year by Distinct Magazine, awarded Best Concrete Houses 2020 in the world, a member of EO, which is the Entrepreneurs Organization, and part of the Virginia Beach Vision Board involving the top 125 business owners in the area. And he has a motto, it's not the circumstances, but how you respond that matters. With all that said, Tony, welcome to the show.
Oh, guys, I can't wait. I'm so excited to be with you today. Love your energy, and this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a ton of fun. So the first question, just because as I was reading this, is the conference already live? Did you do one last year and you're doing another one this year?
No, we did one a year and a half ago. It was awesome. We had Magic Johnson, 20 speakers from over the country. Forbes presented me my book at the conference. It was awesome.
That's super, super cool. Well, way to go on you. Another yet prestigious accolade that is added to the list of many. So we said all this cool stuff, but tell us the true story. Tell us about your origin story, how you got into not only construction, but all the businesses that you kind of work in. And then tell us why it's so great.
Yeah, I was blessed. People always ask me, how the heck are you so successful at such a young age? And it really came from, I grew up in a town in South Jersey, and it was 4 months of hurry and 8 months of worry. So my parents were very entrepreneurial thinking, and we had to make money for the first 4 months. If not, winter was really long, like that show Winter is Coming. Yep. We literally had Winter is Coming. So, but then from there on, I just started, it was in all this entrepreneurial positions, and I started my first restaurant partnership at 19, then moved to Virginia Beach, and then opened up Why Not Italian, which is a full-scale Italian restaurant. We opened 7 or 8 of them, and then went right into construction. So like when you're in the construction and restaurant business, my first boss in the pizza business when I was 15, he's like, hey, we have to do some plumbing. So I went and learned how to do plumbing. Then we were doing tile, and then we did this. So little by little, when you're in the restaurant business, you can't afford the bills. It's a penny business. And so you start doing construction. So I got into my own business, laid all the tile, laid all the stonework, did the electrical, plumbing. And I said, shit, I can do a construction too. So I opened up a huge construction company. And really, that's just what's taken me through my career.
That's wild. Restaurants and construction, very different worlds, effectively. Obviously, all involve people, which we're going to talk a bunch about. But knowing that you can do some construction stuff and then actually going and starting a construction company seems like even that is a big leap. What was the thing that spurred it? Said, like, restaurants are great, but I need something else. I need more.
I'm just a crazy person as far as, and I don't even say I'm crazy. I'm intentional and I'm passionate. I'm blessed. Every time I've ever hit a little bit of friction in my life, I started to say, hey, I can do that. So I would have customers coming in all the time and say, hey, I need to get a bathroom remodeled. I'm like, hey, no problem. I'd send 3-4 people to their house. And all of a sudden the customer was coming in complaining about what was happening. And I'm like, I'm not even getting paid for this. I'm just sending you people. So eventually I just said, screw this. I'm just going to open up Why Not Build. And it was born. And since then, it's just grown into a huge company. We do commercial building, residential, everything. So it's really been a really large company. But you said something interesting, that pizza, how do you go from pizza to building? But in pizza, we start out with flour, sauce, and cheese, and we build something with raw product. But the best part about it, then the customer gets to eat your product. So this is a satisfaction that you really did something great for somebody. So in construction, I start out with 2x4s, nails, concrete, and then all of a sudden the customer moves into the house, and it's the same exact process. There's nothing different. It's just really, I'm in the people business, and if you know how to manage people, they're all the same exact business.
I love the pizza to construction metaphor. You start with the foundation in both of those, and you end up with a happy person at the end, which is the goal. So people's the equalizer. Is, to your opinion, why is that the case? How is that the case, and why is that the case?
I teach scaling all over the world. I work with entrepreneurs and business leaders all over the world. And the one thing I say is, you want to scale your business, you cannot scale without people. We need people to grow. And honestly, when we talk about process and procedures and talk about the person and the individual and investing in your employees, investing in the people that are around you, that's when you truly make a difference. I'll tell you a story just as of last night. I'm sitting at one of my restaurants talking to one of my construction guys having a meeting. One of my young girls walks past me. I'm like, you know what, Riley? I said, you're one of the most amazing people. I've hired thousands, over 20,000 people. I said, I could probably count on 2 hands how many people I've had like you in my life, in my business. And the construction guy's like, is that true? And I'm like, yeah. I said, you know why? Because she invests in me. And when you have an employee that invests in you, because you're making an investment in them, when they reciprocate and give it back to you, man, that's the most amazing thing in the world to me. So I just love people.
So what does that actually mean, investing in your people? Why don't you define that a little bit?
So I haven't hired a person in my life. So every time I sit down with an employee, I ask them, I said, what are you expecting from the job? Not what I expect from them. So automatically in an interview, I'm asking them, I'm making an investment in them. It's no different than you give them $5,000 to your stockbroker and say, hey, I want you to make an investment for me. What do you expect from that $5,000? You expect a return on your investment. So when we grew up as kids, all of our bosses, they just expected, it wasn't about what I wanted. It's about what the boss wanted. So I changed my whole philosophy, and millennials helped me with this more than anything. Millennials always wanted to know the question, why? I love millennials. You'll hear so many business leaders say the millennials are the worst generation there is. I actually love them because they force me to answer the question, why? So when you start to answer the question, why, to these millennials, you start to say, well, hey, that's a much better way to treat people, because all they want to know is why they're doing what they're doing. I can remember being a kid on the Jersey Shore, and I'd ask my boss something, ask him a question. I was so scared because I'd have a foot up my you-know-what. The thing is, when we grew up as kids, you were never allowed to talk to the boss. You were never allowed to ask the question, why? Why are you asking why? Just do your job. And what happened is, once you start to learn with millennials, then you start to truly understand it's about investing in them, because you're automatically expecting an investment back from the employee. Why not ask the employee what they want? Why not ask them why they're coming to work? Why not ask them what's going to make this an amazing opportunity for them? And I'll tell you, when you sit down and you interview somebody, can you tell me what I can do for you in an interview? They look at you like you're crazy. because nobody's asking that question.
As a millennial, I appreciate the shout out. I can be the full representation of all millennials in the world, and I completely agree with you. We are the best across the board.
So you're asking me a billion questions. Why? So this is relevant.
Exactly.
So can you explain, because we talked a little bit about this before, can you explain the difference between hiring and investing a little bit deeper?
When you're hiring, it's not an intimate relationship, right? It's not an intimate, so I do a thing called predictive interviewing. So when I do predictive interviewing, I'm actually analyzing where the employee's at the given state of when we're hiring them, how long it's going to take to train them, where they're going to be, and then what I'm going to end up paying them. So I'm already thinking about the investment constantly when I'm hiring an employee. But any of us can hire. My youngest daughter can hire people. It's not hard to hire people. But when you're truly diving into the person's individual, like what makes them tick? How are they going to be as an employee? Am I going to get an investment? Because when I'm hiring an employee, I have an expectation of what I want from this employee. Automatically, I know exactly what I want. But are they understanding what I want? Are you setting the proper expectations from the interview? Set the expectation right from the interview, and your chance of success with that person is going to be so high. But investing doesn't just stop with the interview. I invest in my employees 52 weeks a year. I'm constantly sitting them down, communicating with them, diving deep into what is. I don't get into their personal life. Some people go too deep into people's personal lives, but I want to walk in every day. I shake every hand when I leave the building at the end of the night. I don't want to shake everybody's hand, but I want to feel the temperature of that employee. When they're leaving work, I shake their hand when they come in because I want to know, did they flip the switch at the back door? How's their mindset? Where are they at? I'm making an investment in communicating with them all day long. For 52 weeks a year, we don't stop training ever. And that's truly the investment that you make in an employee. Because so many people, when an employee quits, the first thing they tell you, right? 98% of employees, when they quit a job, you know what they'll tell you? I was never trained. 98% people is one of the 10 things they'll say is I was never trained properly. But that's because nobody's investing in their employees. The first 6 weeks of any job is scary as hell. But it's really scary when somebody's not communicating with you.
I mean, for sure, as far as communication goes, that's everything from setting expectations to understanding what does it mean to do good work versus not. Right? It even sets the tone for what the communication relationship is going to look like. First impressions, right?
Oh, yeah.
It says a lot within not even just the first few weeks, but first few days.
Without a doubt.
Says a lot. Okay.
You're talking about delegation. I mean, and that's something entrepreneurs and leaders fail with every single day. They fail at delegation.
Is most of your time spent on employees? Like, I think there's a big misconception on what leaders do, especially in larger companies, outwardly facing versus inwardly facing. In terms of leadership, it sounds like you're more inwardly facing. You're more about development of people.
Actually, so where I'm at more hours. So I work on my business, not in my business. I try not to be in my businesses 100% and diving in deep because, there's a great book called 10X versus 2X versus Penn Hardy. Love the book, right? So, but I live my life that way. I'm constantly developing. I'm a systems person, right? I develop systems, process, and procedures to make my companies better every single day. And that involves people, right? So what I do is I really focus hard on reputation management, friction of employees. How can I make my employees' lives better, their job easier to do, and accomplish better results? And that all comes down to systems, process, and procedures and investing in your people. But they have to have clarity for the company they're working for. Every single one of my companies, every single one of my companies, I develop the 3 pillars of my brand. I make sure right away that they understand the company they're working for because I can have the greatest systems in the world. But if they don't align with the 3 pillars of my brand, I can never set the proper expectations and I will never get the right results. So it's critically important. But I work from outside my business and then bring everything within. Right. So I'm constantly developing processes. The better I can do something. I mean, even in construction. Right. So COVID, right. We're freaking out. The price of lumber is through the roof. I'm taking down lumber, man. I'm knocking nails out like I was an 8-year-old kid with my dad in construction. I'm knocking out nails. I'm working on a system to make it easier for my employees so now I can pay them. It wasn't just about taking the nails out of the existing wood, but how can I keep employees employed by saving money for our company. So I'm constantly looking at that process and can I enhance every process every single day? So, as an entrepreneur, if you're stuck inside the forest, you're never going to grow your business. You've got to step out of it. And I'm not saying as leaders, we all have to go back inside the trees every once in a while because they don't. The best leaders I've ever worked for, plant managers, they come down on the floor. They get on the machines. They get on the lines. They figure out, well, hey, what is this employee going through today? But that's not where you live. You've got to get back out. And, you'll constantly hear employees that the leaders of the company, all they do is sit on their computer all day long. But they're growing their business. That's how you grow your business. That time off is critically important. You really need to get away from your business. Every time I go to Europe, I come back, my staff is like, oh my God, he's away for 2 weeks. He's going to be crazy because my brain just I can't even describe it. My brain's on fire when I get away from my companies and I come back with these million crazy ideas.
Well, like a proper visionary, right?
Yes.
You have to have that time off and get inspiration and insight, right? Start thinking about one issue. It's like going on Wikipedia. You start with I'm looking for something simple, and by the end of it, your initial search does not look like where you ended up at, right? The two just don't look related.
That's a TikTok. Forget about it.
Okay. So you mentioned something about a delegation. And it's definitely an issue in the industry for small and medium businesses to delegate, right? Because it ultimately comes down to trust. So how do you get C-suite and even middle managers to delegate or to learn how to delegate appropriately without going off on people, right? I think that I'll put that key context in there.
No doubt. And I think it's large businesses, some of your biggest businesses, Coca-Cola, Amazon, they struggle with delegation probably more than anybody because they're so far removed from their employees that it really becomes a problem. So in delegation, the way I work with delegation, a million people teach delegation all over the world. Every business coach you have, oh my God, he's talking about delegation again. I don't talk about that. I reverse engineer delegation. I go all the way from the follow through all the way back to the task, right? So there's 4 steps for me for delegation. It's the task, it's the person, setting proper expectations, and then the follow through. The biggest mistake managers, middle managers, and leaders make, they criticize their employee. Instead of saying, hey, the follow through, I did not get the result I was looking for when I delegated this process out to this employee. So what they do, they go right to the employee and criticize the employee. Oh, this guy's stupid. He doesn't know how to do anything. So what you have to do is go back to the follow through and say, did this employee perform? Okay, 60%. I go back to, did I set the proper expectations for this employee? Then I go to the person. Is this the right person for this job? And then I say, okay, the task is well defined. So what I do is I'll hand managers, I'm like, look in that mirror right there. Can you truly answer the question that you set the proper expectation for this employee? Now go set that expectation again. Let them do it again. They get 80% the second time. Okay, great. Again, criticize yourself. Now the third time they get an 80 again, I'm going to say, you know what? I picked the wrong person. I'm still not criticizing the employee. But that's how we grew up. That's how it was 25 years ago. It was so easy. The employee's dumb, get them out, fire them. But realistically, a lot of times the manager needs to be fired. And a lot of times managers are afraid for an employee to excel and have upward mobility because they're afraid to lose their jobs. So a lot of time when I'm teaching delegation, it's all about reverse engineering it. Always making sure that the follow, did you get the outcome that you were expecting? Did you actually get that result? Because if you didn't, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and answer these questions going backwards. And when you start doing that, when you start criticizing yourself, man, your leadership capabilities will go through the roof. It's crazy. When I do this with leaders and managers, they're blown away. Because realistically, we were never trained that way as kids. We weren't. Our parents didn't delegate properly. Our parents didn't. They just hollered at us. That's all it was. So we were trained that way from a very young age. So when we get into management, do you think we're going to be any different? Our parents told us how to not delegate properly.
So if from a young age, we haven't been taught to delegate properly and even prioritize, right? I mean, part of delegation is prioritization.
No doubt.
Right? So what is the easiest way to learn, especially for someone that has had, let's say, bad habits, right? To be able to self-assess. So for our listeners out there, maybe to do a little bit of self-awareness, self-assessment to get to a point where they're delegating a little bit more properly.
So it's really, for me, it's active listening, right? So when I have an employee that doesn't do anything, ask questions first. Don't open your mouth. Ask it in a question format, and it's crazy what you'll learn. So if I have an employee, I ask them to, hey, go sweep out this house for me. It's a construction job. I walk up, the house isn't swept right. There's lumber everywhere. I don't go in and say, what are you, dumb? Like, let's go. Come on. You don't know how to use a broom? I ask the question right away. Do you understand what I meant about cleaning out this house? And then I'll say to them again, hey, if the homeowner came into the house today, how do you think their perception of this home would be? Not a house. How would they think their home looks? And then all of a sudden the light bulb goes on in their head. Oh, yeah, they probably want to be happy. But that's so far down the road already by asking 2 questions that now I'm actually making the human being actually use their brain to actually do the proper job. So next time I ask that employee, I said, hey, can you sweep out that house? Oh, yeah, boss, I got it, man. The homeowners are coming. I know he knows exactly what to do. But that's not how we were trained. We were told sweep the house. And then all of a sudden, if I go up to the kid, I'm screaming at him. You don't know how to use a push broom? What the hell's wrong with you? That's all that happens. So when you start asking questions, lead with a question. That would be the biggest thing I would tell you. When you're managing people, don't go in to criticize them right away. Always lead with the question. You'll learn so much more, I promise you. Because they all have a different perception of what cleaning the house means, what cleaning out a walk-in, sweeping a floor. They all have a different perception. And sometimes you learn something when you actually ask questions.
I think this actually goes to, you mentioned visionary, Will, and when a leader that sits in a visionary seat, or any leader, but certainly a visionary, like, what does sweeping a house mean in your vision of that? Like, they don't inherently know that. Like they don't know what that picture looks like until you paint it for them. And asking questions to get them to get there is the best way to instill it. So, hey, if the homeowner walked in to see their home, what would that be? It's like, oh, it's like you turn the light on in their brain that said, like, oh, that's what it should look like. Now I have a good understanding of what that is. I think that's missed a lot when it comes to leaders in positions to try to get people to really understand the big picture of what we're trying to achieve as an organization.
Yeah, this is where it comes down to training. Like, I invest in my people, and this is like, my training methods are so in depth because it's scenarios, right? So I'm always giving them scenarios that, or, God, I lost my thought. But the biggest thing in training is making sure that I'll give them an evaluation test with 150 questions on how to do a specific thing in their job. And it's going through every possible thing. Situational awareness is what I was going to say. Situational awareness is critically hard to train because I can't teach you every single process that's going to happen on a daily basis because we're dealing with 98.6 degrees. We're dealing with humans. And I tell everybody, I'm like, if I have 40 people working for me, I have 80 problems because they have 2 hands. Right? So I'm always saying that. So, but the thing is, it's so important. I can't tell you how important delegation is. And it's a mindset shift because you have to change the mindset of people, and managers don't invest in their people. So they don't take the time, because I'll tell you the truth. It's a lot of work to delegate properly. So much work.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Love the fact that you talked about situational awareness. That's something in my mind. It's a little bit of how you start kind of building upon critical thinking. And there's different levels of that, right? Situational awareness is just one level of critical thinking. And there's a lot of different levels. And I like that you talked about it, that it's a mindset, right? So, all right. Something else, because we've kind of been dancing around it, and I might as well ask you straight up. Is there a shortage of workers, or is it something else?
Well, we are in a very difficult time right now, to be honest with you. Like, my electrician just went from 8 trucks down to 1 truck. There is a mind shift change in the industry where people are working from home. They're not going out to eat the lunch in my restaurants, right? They're staying at home. They have this different perception of what work is and what work ethics are. But here's the thing. If you sit on your laurels and think it's the same as it was 10 years ago, you're not going to have any employees. You have to adapt. You have to change. You have to change the process. You have to show them why it's important. They communicating with them, asking them questions. What is making those employees tick? So when I interview, I'm like, what do you want out of this job? And people will say to me, I want to work for you. I want to work for you because you actually care. Today, it's a little different. So if I ask you as an employee, hey, I want to work 20 hours a week, I'm not going to schedule you 40 hours a week because you already told me in an interview exactly what you want. Or you tell me, hey, my wife's off and like I love spending time with my kids and my wife. Well, maybe the restaurant's not the right business for you. Why don't you come work in my construction company? We get done at 3:00 every day. What? Wait, you apply, but the employee applied for the specific position that you had in Indeed. So really, your perception right away is, no, they applied for this job. They're going to work what I think is this job. They're going to work the 40 hours a week. They're not going to have weekends off. But unless you ask that question, you're like, why did they quit after 2 weeks? Well, it's your fault. You weren't thinking properly. So is there a shortage of workers? There's no doubt. We're definitely in an interesting time. But the crazy part is unemployment starting to go through the roof. So a month ago, I in my restaurants, I had about 25 people applying on Indeed. Now I'm at over 300 people applying on Indeed. Times are definitely changing. And this is going to help, right? Because in the restaurant industry, we were such a shortage of employees. The price of food's high. The middle class is getting choked out right now because they can't afford to eat out. And it was a big problem, like with employees. But what's happening is it's driving wages down. We were hiring dishwashers at $20 an hour because if you had a pulse, come on, I need your help. But today we're back to where we were at our starting wage for dishwashers. So things are definitely changing. And I think it's going to take some time for the employees to understand what it is to go back to work. Listen, guys, the last time we had a recession was 2008. It's like 15, 16 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So 70, 80% of businesses have never even been through a recession. We're coming into some interesting times where people are going to say, oh, this is what a recession's about. It's been a very long time. None of the partners I have in any of my businesses have ever seen a recession. So they're all asking me every day, what the hell's a recession? How's that going to happen? So, but what I've done is streamlined all of my businesses right now. We're so lean in every one of my businesses because this is my fourth recession. I know what we have to do to survive. I talked to Horace Solche. You'll love it. He's the founder of Ritz-Carlton. I had him on my podcast. And I said, Horace, what would you tell every entrepreneur out in the world right now about the times that we're in? He goes, Tony, we're no longer in business. We're in survival mode. And all he was telling me was a mindset shift, right? We're obviously all in business, but you have to change your mindset that this is survival time. This isn't business time. And just realign your business completely. It's the most amazing. He's 88 years old. It was the most amazing podcast I've ever had, I think. I was just so enamored by it because he's all about creating experiences and the customer result. And that's right up my alley. So it's fun.
Well, it's a lot of good insight from a recession veteran.
Yes.
I've gone through 1.5. I mean, technically COVID was half a recession, depending on how you look at it, right? It was a forced recession. It wasn't a naturally occurring recession.
Well, then they paid everybody. So.
Yeah. Someone's still going to pay that.
Oh, it's coming.
Not now. It's coming. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So, talk a little bit about subs or trade partners. You said, electrician going from 8 trucks down to 1 truck. But talk about a little bit about how you treat those people.
Here's where I'm a little bit different, right? I look at my subs employees as my employees. I invest in my subcontractors' employees when they come on the job. I establish where they're working. We're not working on somebody's house. We're working on somebody's home. I don't like graffiti. I don't let any graffiti. I don't let them smoke in the house. I don't let them do any of that. But I establish that expectation immediately when they come to my jobs. I do not play around. So the thing is, a lot of contractors, when they go out there, they hire electricians and say, oh, they're his problems. No, it's your house you're building. So when these employees are working for me, they all understand. They're all in uniform when they come to my job. They all have logoed shirts on. I don't allow anything like that, because any given time that homeowner walks in the house, I'm responsible for every single person that's in that home. I'm responsible if the hardwood floors are down, that they have booties on, the floors are covered, where you're putting your ladder. Even though they're not my employees, they're affecting my result. So I think that realistically, when you're hiring a subcontractor, typically the owner of the contracting company, they're awesome, man. They're polished, shirts are tucked in, they look great, they're driving a great vehicle. That's not always the case. Especially you hire some plumbers, and they have to understand, when I tell a plumber, you're not just laying pipe for this house This is where they're going to flush their toilets. This is how everything's going to be. Is your grade right? Because when their toilets are backing up 2 years from now, are you going to be here? You're not going to be in this house. So it's critically important that you set the expectations. It all depends what level you're building at, right? I build high-end custom homes, but then I'm also remodeling kitchens and bathrooms. But the difference is the reason I'm a great successful remodeler is because I remodel like I'm building a $5 million house. I remodel the same exact way that I build expensive homes. I make sure when I'm in somebody's, and I can't say it, and I'm going to say it 100 times, I don't work on people's houses. I work on their homes. And that statement right there, when I tell I'm selling a job and I say, ma'am, I'm not coming in to remodel your house. This is your home. This is where you're going to have breakfast. And somebody says, oh, are you okay with fixing that? I said, ma'am, I'm not going to be sitting at this table and having coffee in the morning. This is where you're going to be sitting. So it's not really important what I think. It's more important what you think. Guys, everything I do is train mindset. I train mindset so the employees and my subs that come in, I talk to their employees the same exact way that I talk to my employees, and they love working with me. I've had the same subcontractors for 20 years, but their employees like working for me. So it makes a huge difference.
It's a lot of trust building.
You love the people aspect of this. You have a ton of businesses. Why a ton of businesses instead of just having a construction business or just having a restaurant group? Like, why not just really one and just pour all of your heart and soul into those people?
It's funny. People ask, obviously I've had that question multiple times in my life, but the thing is what people don't realize is that every business I have relates to the other one. So from restaurants, I pick up all my construction jobs in my restaurants. Like it's all word of mouth. I mean, when I'm in there, they know I'm a builder. They, hey, can you help me with my kitchen house? Can you help me with my bathrooms? All this. And then every job. And then all of a sudden I hire marketing people for all my companies. And these marketing firms are making me crazy. I fired 5 large, huge national marketing firms. I'm like, I'm just going to open up my own branding company. So then I open my branding company. Now my branding company takes care of 5 companies. I don't even need to sell in that company because they take care of my other 5 companies that I need marketing in. And then all of a sudden I'm like training, like these people are making me crazy. I'm saying the same thing to these employees over and over and over again. I can't get them to get the results. So then I just build a SaaS company, create an incredible training company. I'm selling in the franchising world with it now, but my training company feeds all of my other employees. So every business I've ever opened up, it's always been relative to my other companies. So it just makes sense. It's just, I get so frustrated when I'm working with all these people and they're not being able to do a job. I'm like, shit, I'll just start a company. It's not hard. It's easy. Because what I realize is the branding business, the training business, the construction business, real estate, it's all the people business. Like I love mentoring real estate agents because like they don't realize that they're all entrepreneurs. They're all entrepreneurs. And so like when I'm in these businesses, that's the same business. Like, so it says, they're like, how can I had a real estate and I'm mentoring. And she goes, you don't know anything about selling. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, this is what I'm going to do. You're going to go try and sell a house. I'm going to try and sell a house. And I'm going to show you what I know about people. I said, we're going to walk in the house. I'm going to walk in with them. And I'm going to say, hey, wait a minute. I'm going to go out to my car. I'm going to compare overalls. And I'm going to walk in the house. And the customer's like, what the hell are you doing? You're in a suit. What are you in your overalls? I said, you know what? Are you going to live this? Do you love this home? Because this is where you're going to live. I said, but I'm going to go in the most important part of the home. I'm going to crawl into your house and see if the bones of your house are going to be able to support you to live in this home. And the real estate agent looks like, you would do that? I'm like, why wouldn't I do that? I said, I'm selling a home to these people. They're going to live here. I said, that's the difference. And I'll crush you every time. And I'm like, I'm only kidding. I said, I'm not a real estate agent. But the biggest thing I was teaching her, you have to look at the customer and the experience that you're trying to create with these people. And that's where when I opened up multiple companies, it's always because to me, they're all identical. So you could say I'm running 15 businesses right now. And to me, I'm running 1. I don't think about it that way. I've never in my life thought about it that way, ever. They're all the same exact business. Because even in my construction business, I have custom building, remodeling, commercial. So do I have 3 more businesses there? It's all construction to me. But they're 3 completely separate businesses. Because if you build commercial versus residential, completely different. Oh, yeah. Subs are different. The customer is different, everything. So it's like a totally separate business. And your mindset has to be able to adapt to that different process. So they're all the same to me, to answer that question. I don't know. Yeah.
You mentioned the training business. So employee launch. I'm very intrigued about this because this seems like not that it's overarching or umbrellaing or anything like that, but it seems like that connection, because you're training people, right? It's all training people. Like it's so like a restaurant compared to construction is like, yeah, I get deals. You know, this is how I can get word of mouth deals. It makes sense. But like a training platform in comparison, it just touches everything, because that makes sense. Same thing with the marketing and branding, right? It's like you can market or brand any company or any entity. So let's talk about employee launch. So what is it? Like, let's start there. And like, where did the idea? It sounds a lot of like you didn't want to keep telling people the same thing over and over again is where it came from. But give us a little bit more background there.
Sure. So like employee launch is an upper mobility training system. So we go from all the way from predictive interviewing to training 52 weeks a year. The difference is everybody has a learning management system. Basically, you take your SOP and you put it into a computer process in there. What we do is with employee launch, we walk into your company. We take, say you have 8 positions. We take 2 months with each position. We identify the best person in that position and the worst person. Then we develop a systematic training system that sits on top of your LMS. And then we develop a 5-step program. So it's track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have course training, and then you have on-site evaluation training. So not only is the employee reading a manual, but we're analyzing them the entire way. So say I need your employee and you're ranked, and Justin comes in, he's ranked a 2.0. Right? I hire you, you're a 2.0, you're a starter, entry-level person. It's my job over the next 6 months to get you to a level 4. How do I get you to a level 4? Well, it's observation. You're doing your course training. Then I'm going to stand next to you, making sure you're doing your job. But then it's 52. All of a sudden, now you're a level 5 employee, man. You're a rock star for me. And now you say, man, I'm really stagnant, man. I've been doing this job for like 5 years. I don't know what I'm doing. Now you say, hey, I'd love to be a manager. Now you go to 1.0 management, and now I give you upper mobility to train to give you upper mobility in your company. The biggest problem with companies, you ask any business out there, how often are you training? You've been working with this company for 5 years. How long? Tell me about your training. Oh, I was trained the first 6 weeks I started a company. I'm like, well, when have you been trained again? Oh, no, they never trained me again. So even in your role, I'm constantly pushing you up the ladder. You're a level 3.0, boom. And all of a sudden you, Justin, you come to me, I'm really happy being a 3.0. Well, I have to make a decision then, right? Because I want employees that want to grow in my company. That's what I want. Because if you want to grow in my company, the company's going to grow. So upper employee launch is a complete upper mobility. We walk into companies, they've got great SOPs, a great LMS. I sit directly on top of it, and I exponentially increase the value of their employees, reduce turnover, employee satisfaction, higher ROI, because now they know the product so well because it's so detailed training. Our training's amazing. So really, it just increases sales, increases the environment, reducing turnover. Your revenue just goes through the roof because you have a cohesive team working together. And it's investing in your employees. So you asked me how I invest. I build a tool to invest. I completely, out of complete frustration, said, I can do something better with this. And I built an amazing SaaS company.
Wow. So construction to SaaS. So restaurant, construction, SaaS, right? Those are completely different
a little
business
marketing
models.
In there too.
Yeah, and marketing. That's right. Marketing, I can understand. That one I can understand. But the leap from construction to SaaS, that's a big leap. That's a different business model.
It is a different business model, but when I talk about my SaaS company being a training, when you have 20,000 employees, people are like, how do you know? Like I speak and I do a keynote and I'm speaking, I'll do Q&A for 30 minutes. They're like, how can you answer 300 entrepreneurs' questions? I said, when you have 20,000 employees, you had 20,000 situations daily that you had to answer questions. It was all situational management. So like when your brain starts to function in a solution mindset, you can answer almost any question out there if you understand that we're all in the same exact business. So when I talk about SaaS, the SaaS company I built was focused on people. So it was easy to build a SaaS company focused on people. I wasn't building a SaaS company for the real estate industry. I was building it purely on people, and that's the only business I'm in.
They sound very similar to someone else that we had interviewed. I don't know, Justin, you know who I'm talking about? Brittany Hodak?
Yeah, Brittany Hodak. Mm-hmm.
Starting to sound very similar to Brittany Hodak. Very much the people experience. So okay, training is the same. Talked about training and essentially upskilling your employees.
Right.
You created this SaaS company as a way to really help alleviate you having to personally do it, right? Or
Right.
having it done right, so that way you could not think about it anymore. So let's turn to a little bit towards the future. Is the SaaS company where your focus is at right now and helping build that? Or are there other problems you're already creating new companies for?
my wife thinks I'm crazy. You can't imagine my wife. My wife is I'm the most blessed man in the world. So like my wife's like, God, can you just stop opening companies? And like, what are you doing? So I'm in the car driving a funeral this weekend, and my wife goes, we're talking about a cleaning lady, this young girl that's worked in my restaurant. Now she's doing all my construction clean for me. So I'm recruiting, and my wife goes, what do you think about opening a cleaning company? I'm like, what'd you say? Oh, that's a great idea. So I realistically, for me, I'm 55 right now. By 60, I probably want to exit almost all my businesses right now and then be coaching and teaching entrepreneurs all over the world. I love the joy of coaching and teaching. I really was put on this planet to really give back. I've been blessed by the Lord to have the abilities I have every single day. And I don't know why I have this superpower to really understand process and procedure and systems and people. But I really want to share with the world and make an impact and give back, because the failure rate in entrepreneurship is so bad, and it's the loneliest profession in the world. But there's no reason businesses need to fail. 94% of businesses do under $1 million a year. I mean, why? Right? Because they're not investing in their businesses. They don't understand what it is to invest in people and grow. How can we make a difference? If I can change the lives of, say, 100 people a year, it'd be great. But I want to talk over to 1 billion entrepreneurs in my life, and that's where I'm pushing to do. And when I'm at conferences with 2,000-3,000 people, I mean, I'm talking to 2 major corporations this coming week, and they're bringing me in to speak to their C-suites to motivate their franchisees. And I'm like, God, what they don't understand is they don't understand the company they work for. So if I can get out there and change that part of the world, then that would be the best thing for me going forward. And I'm going to speak till I'm 90. I don't care. I'm going to live to 120. So
that's a BHAG. That is a huge BHAG.
Yeah. I do. I mean, I'm like all about health and fitness, and great nutritionist working for me. But I mean, I want to live a long time, take care of myself so I can empower the world. I have 3 daughters that are all entrepreneurs, so they're all in the same boat. And so I want to make a difference in the world.
Very aspirational.
Yeah. And it's
inspiring.
Very inspiring, Tony. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's nothing. You see me on stage, you'll understand completely. When I get on stage, I black out. I'm like so focused and into it, man. I just love, I could talk entrepreneurship all day long. So, and leadership, the biggest thing where I'm moving to is like all of my keynotes are all like focused on like Amazon, Coca-Cola, big leadership conferences where I'm working on alignment. And the biggest problem these corporations have is that the leaders of the company and the employees and the customer are all out of alignment in almost all companies. Like Coca-Cola doesn't need branding. They don't need all marketing. They don't need that. They've got off buildings full of those people. But I'll tell you, the one thing Coca-Cola has a problem with is alignment from the C-suite to the employees to the customer that's actually drinking the Coca-Cola. Like, where is that alignment at? Amazon has a massive problem. Their employees hate working for them. Can't stand it. Every Amazon person, I lose people to Amazon all the time, and 3 months later, they're back. I'm like, what's going on? But they've lost the perception of what it means to be an Amazon employee. It's crazy.
Well, I guess this goes back to company culture. This goes back to investing in your employees. So, their loss, your win.
Exactly. It really goes back to the 3 pillars of the brand. They've lost what their core value of their company is. What's the vision and the mission of the company? And it's definitely not a paragraph that nobody knows. It's 3 words.
I was just talking to a friend literally yesterday, and he was frustrated. The company he works for, and he was talking about they have core values, and one is quality. And I said, oh, well, that's good. So, like, do they decide to make things more expensive, or do they make things slower? Because you can't have quality, speed, and price all doesn't work that way. That's just impossible, right? And he's like, huh? And I'm like, oh yeah, like the 3 legs of the stool of service. Like that's just it's just a fact. And he's like, where did you hear this? And I'm like, it's just a business thing. Like it exists. Go look on the internet. This is all over the place. And he's like, oh my God, our core value is against everything I'm being told to do.
Yep, exactly.
And I was like, yeah, that could be a big problem.
I'm telling you, 99% of companies I walk in have no clue what their company stands for. This national company, and I'm going to tell you who I'm talking about. I was talking to the president of the company, and I said, tell me the 3 words that represent your brand. And in an hour and a half conversation, I'm like, it's your franchisee aren't complaining about marketing. They're complaining about marketing because they don't understand who they're working for. They don't understand what the mission of the company is. What's that?
Oh, I think we lost you there for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
it's okay. It will record. We're good.
So the thing with this company, it got down to after an hour and a half of the conversation, his franchisees are complaining about marketing, but marketing is not their problem. They're complaining because the core values of the company are not in alignment with the franchisees, and they're not getting the result with the end use customer because they have no idea who they're working with. So I'm speaking with them. I'm speaking to them tomorrow all morning. And I'm so excited to speak with the C-suite. It's 30 people I'm going to be speaking from all over the country. And I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. I love that.
Wow. That is super cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. So we talked a little bit about people. We talked a little bit about process. Justin, you want to head something about tech?
Yeah, for sure. So technology, both in restaurants and construction, aren't always the first thing that we think of to go to. So what does your technology look like? What has that journey been for you and your businesses?
Oh, that's another frustrating one. So like
you should have built a technology company. Well, you kind of did.
I kind of did. The POS in my restaurant, I mean, I've rebuilt the entire system. Wow. And now they're in national chains all over the country, but they weren't the programmers. If you understand you guys understand programmers, they don't think they don't think about the end user. They don't think about the result or the person using the technology at the end. So like for me, that's where I guess my SaaS experience really came from originally, just getting frustrated. Obviously you hear me say all the time, I'm getting frustrated. I get frustrated. I just want to build something. So, but I've really transformed this entire company and went to the point where it's called Food Tech Solutions. And when I go to the booth at the restaurant show, they see me come, they're like, oh, God. Because they know I've got a million different ideas. They're like, why are you doing it this way? So, but technology is so critically important. And like so many people, and we'll stay on the restaurant there for a second. So many people have POS systems in the restaurants. All they are is an electronic cash register. They don't use the data. They don't use anything on the backside. I'm constantly a visionary. I dive into that data. I'm not, so in business, I'm not a P&L person. I can't stand P&Ls. You know why? It's all in the past. I lean forward every single day. I'm making forecasts, analysis based on historical data. I'm using that historical. How can I get better tomorrow? What are we doing next week? I'm always constantly thinking forward. What are we doing tomorrow? I lean forward. I don't have a rear view mirror in my car. I don't look backwards. I look forward. And that's what people don't do with technology. How are you improving the brand based on historical data? And what is the future like? Tell me about next week. Tell me about next month. Tell me about next year. Based on data. And that's what I love about technology. Even in the construction industry, we're using Buildersource right now. And it's amazing software. And, but it's only amazing if you actually use it. Because if you don't use it, it's useless. So like, here's the crazy part for me. I love manual, right? You go into my construction office and what you'll find is whiteboards with 80 jobs on them. Whiteboards. Actually, cash flow analysis, everything. What's my projected profit? It's all in Buildertrend. It's all in there. But the problem is, unless you can physically write it on a board, see it on the board, it works a different side of your mind. Buildertrend's great. Keeps you organized. We got Gantt charts, everything. Customers can see it, selections, everything. But I love to write it manually as well.
Well,
technology,
man after my own heart.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. But it turns a different side of your mind on. Like if you're running labor, right? If you have all your labor costs in Buildertrend, but you actually physically write it down, it makes you think differently. When you start to put pen to paper, and FDR was interesting. I love it too, and I'm big with my phone. I have notes upon notes upon notes. But FDR, he struggled at remembering people's names. You know how he solved it?
How?
He wrote it in the air. And just the hand motion of writing somebody's name in the air helped him remember. because it's a motor skill.
Wow. I might start using that. I have the same problem.
I'm horrible with names. I literally talked to somebody yesterday, and I was like, I can't remember anybody's name of who I'm trying to talk to you about. And then, like, it eventually would come to me, but I'm like, I'm so bad with names. Like, it's so bad. I could tell you a full story about them. Like, I could give you a full 30-minute discussion about what I know about that person, but their name is not included in that 30 minutes. Like, it's just my brain. It doesn't work that way. So that's a good tip, just as in general. I love that.
Yeah. It's with names that I found that my biggest mistake is I'm so excited to talk to somebody. I didn't even listen to their name. I want to get right to the juice. I want to go right to the meat, baby. Give me your story, and I totally forget their name. And now what I do, and I at least try to say their name 3 times in the conversation. Like I say, Justin, like I've said your name. I've said your name twice now. I said Will a couple of times now. I try and say your name throughout the conversation, and it does help.
That's being intentional. It's a skill.
Exactly.
It's definitely a skill that needs to be worked on.
When people know your name, though, like even with your employees, when you know somebody's name, it makes a huge difference. It's like even like a customer, like I'll go back to the restaurant. Like I make my girls that hand out food. They every one of them has a credit card. And I was like, what's on the credit card? It's pretty amazing. Their name's on the credit card. So you say, hey, Mr. Johnson. By the time somebody gets out of one of my restaurants for just picking up food, their name is said 3 times. Hey, Mr. Johnson, how are you? What ticket number do you have tonight? Hey, Mr. Johnson, here's your food. And then, Mr. Johnson, have a wonderful night. I've had so many customers come back to me and be like, man, I don't think I've heard that name that much in my week. So it's really, really paying attention to people's names. It was a God-given thing that we've all been given. So.
No, I love the shortcut. I think I'm going to definitally use that. So.
There you go.
Sure. So, how else are we utilizing technology, though? So, are we just rocking out sheets? Are we actually putting for just, let's say, the construction space? Like, obviously, you have your build software. That makes tons of sense. Do you have bidding software separate from that? Do you have any automation that you're utilizing? Are there other pieces that you're down into technology?
I use OneClick. I mean, Builder Trend. I use Company Cam. I use anything that. Here's the thing, I love technology, but like again, if they're not using it, I'll change it so fast because it has to be user friendly, and that's the most important piece to me. I bring on technology constantly. I'm constantly looking for something new. I was just interviewing somebody yesterday about a technology that goes through the web and sources an employee and tells you the skill level of this employee based on everything on their web, their resumes they put up, everything. So if I'm looking for a certain skill of employee, this software actually has this algorithm where it filters these employees. So like you can find the best one in a recruiting setting, especially. So like, is that software? So I talked to that person there. Like, hey, I have employee launch. I said, hey, maybe we can partner and you can be the onboarding piece, the HR piece in the beginning. And then I'll put you in my software. And now we'll sell this as a package together. Instead of selling it for $8 per employee per month, now we'll sell it for $11 because now we have this technology. So if you're not focused on technology like AI, I love AI. Love it. And AI in my training business is amazing because I used to have to like do an SOP for somebody and I'd have to come up with 200 questions for this one SOP. I'm like, okay, AI, I download the SOP. Boom, give me 200 multiple choice questions. I'm finished within like 30 seconds, Wow. So the thing is AI in construction, not as much yet, but we're definitely getting there, especially for estimating. I think it's going to change the game of estimating. I can't wait to find the right AI that's going to say, hey, you need 364 studs for this bathroom remodel, this addition remodel, boom, boom, boom. How many squares based on the square footages? I know it's out there already. I've seen some of the architecture software. I think it's going to crush so many jobs. I think architects are going to be gone. I think structural engineers will still be around, but I think architects are going to be history. I think they're done.
Wow. That's a very big.
Yeah, I'll make that prediction, guys. You can put it on
prediction. So only time will tell.
Oh, real estate agents are going to, car salespeople are going there. I mean, AI is going to replace them. It's already happening. I mean, my daughter just bought a house online, didn't use an agent, nothing. I mean, she needed the finance. She needed the bank for finance. And you don't even need that today. There's 9 million. You put in there, I need a loan, man. You get 500 companies call you, But I think AI is, I love AI and I'm a big proponent that AI is a tool, right? It may take some jobs, no different than the horse. Everybody thought the horse was going to die when they had an automobile, but they're still horses. They're still out there. but I think it's a great tool. But I think if you are complacent and you're not reacting to what's happening there and actually studying it, you're going to be left in the dust.
So when does it make sense to actually invest in technology? Because I think, in my opinion, there's different levels, right, of investments in technology. Small investments like Excel spreadsheets, right, they work. But then you get to a certain size, that you can't scale that, right? You lose your scalability there to some degree.
It all comes down to bottom line revenue, right? So in the beginning, if I'm talking to a brand new entrepreneur, I'm like, get in there, write everything by pen and paper, because that practice is going to actually bode you very well going forward. As you get systems and processes in place and you find the right technology that gives you the result you're looking for, and this based on your systems and processes that you've proven, right? So many people, they go into companies and they invest right away. They invest all this money in technology and nobody can use it. I do think there's a portion where you lean over into technology, but you really have to know your processes and systems and the outcome that you're looking for. And does this software, you go to a convention, there's 900 POS softwares, there's 900 builder software, but does it fit your company? Because not every software fits everybody's company. There's no way. I've gone through 5 different building softwares, Smart Sheets, Builder Trend. It's crazy, but like some of them work and some of them don't. And I change software companies in my building business based on my users, based on my employees. Do they like to use it? Because the result's going to be high. But I think when you're starting a business and you're a brand new entrepreneur, you have to be very careful with your expenses. Because if you go to anything today, everything is a subscription. Everything. You get subscription to death. And before you know it, you're spending $5,000 a month on subscriptions. And now you wonder why you're out of business, because your cash flow is not there. Cash flows are critically important. You have to be hyper aware of your cash flow.
Cash flow is king.
It is.
Cash flow. Look, the P&L might look nice, but cash flow is what actually sustains the business.
Especially in construction. So, and even in construction, for me, I don't run just a fixed cost contract. I have cost plus and fixed cost, because my fixed cost contracts, I'm not getting paid till the end. My profit's coming at the end. Where when I'm cost plus, I'm making 25% all the way along the project. So for cash flow purposes, I do a blend, so it works really well. And then forget about commercial. It takes forever to get paid. But that's right. Like you try and cross over a residential sub into a commercial business. Oh my God, they freak out. Like they're like, hey, it's Friday. Can I get paid? I'm like, oh no, it's not happening. So it's really challenging. So I love that part of the side of the business too, the finances. Probably my one area I don't love in business is being in the minutia, in the granular piece. I'm definitely a visionary, like to fix big problems and solutions. But the granular piece, I'm like, okay, hire an accountant, hire a CFO, like let them do this. Just give me the answers. Like I'm the worst. Like you give me a proposal, guys, like it's a 10-page proposal. What do you think I do?
Here you go.
No, I flip right to the back page. I don't even read any of the minutia shit. I don't need all that fluff. Give me the back page. Tell me what the hell you're going to charge me, and now explain the minutia.
At least you do. At least you ask about, right? What does that actually mean, right?
Right.
Instead of just assuming whatever the back page.
I go right to the back page, and they say, "Oh, explain the back page." Like they want to nurse you through the first page. I'm like, oh, I don't have time for that. And the other part of me in business, and this is what I think is another huge problem in business today, is email. I think email is the biggest waste of time there is in business. I think email is great for contracts and something that needs to be signed and a document I need to archive. Other than that, pick up your phone and get it done. I went from New Jersey to Virginia, and I moved to Virginia, and I'm like, why is everybody in reverse down here? But the way of life was so much slower. And I'm like, this was the biggest advantage I ever had. I said, this is amazing. I said, everybody's in reverse. I said, hey, they're like, hey, can you email John? I'm like, no, I'm going to call John right now. I'm going to call him. And that's what we're going to get it done. And I'm going to get John on the phone right now, and we're going to get it done. What an advantage. Because the restaurant business is the now business. Construction is not the now. Construction's a 2-week business. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, we'll get it done in a couple weeks. I'm like, no. Let's get it done now. Huge advantage for me in life.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tony, this has been amazing. We do have one last question for you, though, that we want to get your insight on, because I'm sure, like everything else today, it will be spunky and thoughtful. So if you could go back 20 years, that's 2004, what advice would you give yourself?
Surround myself with more mentors. Surround myself with people to mistake avoidance would probably be the one thing I would do. I might not have listened to him in 2004 because I was still a business owner. I wasn't an entrepreneur. But I would say for every business leader out there, entrepreneur, business leader, whatever you do, surround yourself with it. Go to that coffee shop. If you own coffee shops, go talk to another coffee shop owner. If you own a SaaS company, go talk to 5 other SaaS companies. Find out what mistakes they made. Try and have mistake avoidance is critically important for success going forward. You know, I don't regret a day I've lived because I wouldn't know what I know today if I hadn't had all the pain in my life. But hell, it would have been nice to have a couple more easy times. I would have loved a little bit of that, or had a mentor that would have slapped me upside the head. Listen, I've done this 50 times. It's not going to work. But so that if I had to go back 20 years ago, that's what I would say. But do I regret it? Man, I have so much knowledge because of the mistakes I've made. I'm not brilliant. I've just made many mistakes and put myself out there to make the mistakes. And that's a big difference too, right? I'm a risk taker. So I put myself out there to learn everything I've learned, you know, so it was intentional, but I'm happy. I'm just moving forward.
Well,
that's the whole purpose of the podcast, to make people maybe make one less mistake, right? Like that's for us when we set off on this journey, it was like, wow, we know a lot of people that know lots of things and could just be super helpful to other people, and to give them a platform to just share some of those ideas that say, hey, avoid the entrepreneurial tax, as Will puts it. Like, let's do that. So I love that's the message that you would have given yourself 20 years ago.
So in alignment with everything I want to do. If the three of us could change the world in entrepreneurship and business, and just that one little nugget that we give somebody, it's the most rewarding thing in my life.
Super.
No, it's awesome.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that, Tony?
Yeah, it's TonyDisilvestro.com. I'm sure we can put the link in the thing because my last name's a little bit long. But TonyDisilvestro.com. I would love to just get on the phone. I give 15 minutes away free every day, and just love to talk to people, and just like I love to learn from people and find out what makes them tick and how they differentiate themselves. So just get on a call with me, TonyDisilvestro.com. My calendar's right there.
Super.
That's been awesome. You've been amazing and just super fun. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the people before we say our goodbyes?
Nothing. You need to listen to this podcast every day because unfortunately there's not enough of this out there. And remember, you don't have to learn. It's not a huge textbook. It's the one nugget. All you need is one nugget, and it can change your life and put you on a different trajectory.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, guys.
Me and Will had a blast, and listeners, I hope you did as well. And until next time, adios.
Adios.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.
Scale.